It's a great pleasure to be here in Birmingham. It's my first time actually in the ICC, and it's a great pleasure to be in a city that shares many similarities with my home city and constituency of Newcastle. And I have to confess that hearing stories about the hottest curry in the world, combined with the opportunity to talk about my two favourite subjects, politics and technology, that was part of the attraction to coming here this afternoon. I came in yesterday and I didn't try the hottest curry, but it was certainly one of the best curries I've ever had. But as well as great food, I'd say Birmingham and Newcastle share a great number of challenges and opportunities. We both have world-famous accents. Now, I do prefer Geordie, but I do also have a soft spot for Brum. We both have lively and well-renowned cultural scenes, and we both have world-famous football clubs with the obligatory owners or former owners with questionable business dealings. Now, Aston Villa are coming to Newcastle on Saturday, and I'm sure fans will leave with a sense of the city's warmth and passion. I hope they leave as losers, but equally, Birmingham has a well-known reputation as a friendly, welcoming population, contrary to what anybody at Fox News might think. But I don't think people at Fox News do actually think, do they? They just talk. And we both have long and proud industrial heritage, yet face very modern and very real economic challenges. And critically, both cities have new and emerging innovative and knowledge-based industries, and that's why you're here today. And so the history of innovation in industry, that we have as drivers of the first industrial revolution, is something that we can build on for the next generation of technology-based industries. So as we've heard, Greater Birmingham, and just to congratulate Birmingham on the report, because having the data is really important basis for driving forward industry and growth. But Greater Birmingham is already home to 6,000 tech firms, and I know that ASOS, Virgin Media and Droplet are all recently located here. The sector is employing nearly 40,000 people, and I understand boosts the region's economy by over 1.6 billion every year. And each year, more patents are applied for in Birmingham than anywhere else in the UK, and more businesses are sprouting up here than anywhere outside of London. So I suppose the first thing I want to say to you really is that you are, Birmingham is, and you are, having chosen to spend your valuable time here today, you are absolutely right to see digital as the platform, the most significant platform for future economic growth. Digital is an enabling technology like electricity. So as well as the actual digital industries, the internet startups that we might see, digital also enables other industries to grow. I mean, we see, West Midlands is famous for the automotive industry. Cars are more likely to be digitally driven than petrol driven in terms in the future. Electric cars will probably have a much higher content, and even non-electric cars will have a much higher content of value added by digital than by their petrol-based engine, or indeed electric or hydrogen-based engine. And we need to see businesses, government, and I think it's very important the point Nick was making about local government and local involvement, coming together to support and drive that development in the future. As, to be honest, we saw quite successfully in the Automotive Industries Council in this area. And Nick's absolutely right, and Richard's absolutely right to say this is about all businesses. And that we need to ensure that all businesses have the digital skills. And just to give one example, and there are many I could give, taxis, many small businesses, certainly in Newcastle, proportion of our small businesses are taxi drivers, sole traders, taxi drivers. So not an industry or sector that was known for its embracing of technology, you know, apart from phone lines. And now we see Uber, an American company, rolling out its taxi application across the world and disrupting that industry fundamentally. So we had a black cab strike in London a few months ago, and taxi strikes in Paris more recently. And whilst I have issues with the Uber business model, and I think there are challenges in terms of regulation, what I really want to make sure that there are local businesses in Birmingham and across the country, that you have the digital skills to recognize where the next Uber may be coming from to disrupt your business model, as well as the digital skills to survive and thrive in the new disrupted businesses of the future. So every business needs to have those digital skills. And I also believe that it's important that all of us, as citizens as well as startups and legislators like myself, as well as developers, understand how technology is going to continuously change our lives and the opportunities and challenges that raises. And that's very true, particularly for digital government, which is one of the things I want to focus on. That's why I launched an independent review into digital government at the end of 2013, focusing on how we put citizens in control of increasingly digital public services, including data and information usage, particularly in the areas of value creation, consent, trust, and privacy. Because it's important that we get those principles right at the beginning, rather than just trying to go with the evolving technology. So the review built on Ed Miliband, the leader of the Labour parties, promised that information on individuals should be owned by and accessible to the individual, not hoarded by the state. And one of the drivers of the digital revolution is data ownership and data control. Data analytics can ensure that you understand your business much better, but everywhere you go, as a citizen, also as a business, you are leaving a digital footprint. And the questions as to who owns that data and who has the right to use that data have not been resolved, either in the private or the public sector. So the Digital Government Review took as its basis that there is a need for better integrated services which reflect the needs of capabilities of citizens, businesses, and communities. And as has been mentioned already, there are still millions of households that have no access to the internet, either because they don't want it or because they can't get it. And then there are millions more who do not feel confident using technology for one reason or another, be it security fears or a lack of digital literacy. And there are millions more, and I would say almost everyone to a certain extent, who's experiencing what I call digital discomfort. So that's the sense that government knows who we are calling, or that Amazon is telling us what to buy. They're certainly telling me what I should be buying. Or that our children and friends are being subject to online harassment, or Google is recording our every move, or we're just all drowning under the onslaught of spam and email scams. Now, before I went into Parliament in 2010, I have what my constituents still like to call a proper job. I was a chartered engineer, and I spent 20 years working in the ICT industry, designing and developing and rolling out networks across the world, internet, mobile, fixed networks. And so I really am a technology champion. But I think it's unrealistic not to recognize the barriers to digital take-up and some of the fears that the digital revolution can raise, particularly for those who are left behind. And 18.5% of adults in Birmingham are still offline, and not benefiting from the social and economic opportunities that the internet can provide. So by giving people skills, control and information, we need to put people in control, or we can put people in control of their lives and in control of increasingly digital public services. And we can also create new customers, new potential employees for the emerging digital industries, some of which may not yet exist. So the report, that's the website there, makes 35 recommendations to make digital government work for everyone. It received over 2,000 submissions. It is authoritative, radical and evidence-based contribution to the future of progressive public services, as well as a standalone reference for the current status of digital government. And it leads on the importance of digital inclusion. That's one of the priorities that we in government would focus on in contrast to this government's attitude to get online or lose out. Now, I have a question for you. How many people in this room have heard of Government Digital Services, GDS? About 20–30%. Well, they are, I would like to be in a position where you'd all heard of them. They are a small group within Cabinet Office who have been tasked with focusing on creating high-level quality services. But what they haven't been able to do is work with local authorities so that the experience of local government services that businesses here may be tendering for or may be using has also been changed. And what we need to ensure that we enable is that we have the services that people and businesses experience locally benefit from the digital revolution, so that it can help with the challenges that we have here, such as economic growth, local planning, housing, and particularly health and social care. The report is also especially severe on the government's use of data. And just to give a particular example, the scandal around care.data, when the government was considered to be selling off individual health data, really set us back in terms of developing innovative new health applications which we can have with people's consent in sharing their data. So as I've said, as part of a Labour government, we would ensure that people own their own public sector data, and we put in place a review so that could establish a coherent and ethical approach for the use of data within government and the sharing of public sector data, which again would enable a platform for new applications from small businesses. And the report also makes important recommendations on public sector skills and leadership. We need to have a wider digital understanding throughout local and central government, but also throughout the health sector as well. In the future, all government will be digital, and we need to ensure that public servants have the skills to inspire citizens and businesses to use digital to improve all our lives. So it's not a simple matter to address. The key message is that the next government will, by necessity, be the most digital government ever. We've seen the way in which business models, and I just was mentioning that with the Uber example, have changed in the private sector. But in the public sector, the relationship between citizen and government has remained unchanged. That will change in the next government. And what we need to make sure, what I want you to be part of making sure, is that small and medium enterprises are a key part of that to give us the innovation that we need. Now, this government often characterises the regions, like the Northeast, as being too dependent on the public sector rather than on being entrepreneurial. Now, I went into engineering because I was growing up in a region which valued making and building things, like the West Midlands. It's certainly the case that we have a strong public sector ethos, but I believe we have a strong belief in public sector services across the country, and I believe that is a market opportunity, particularly for small and medium enterprises. Now, in comparison with the US, for example, which has great innovative and entrepreneurial companies, but doesn't have a strong public sector, so can't lead in this area. And elsewhere in Europe, where we do see strong states, we don't often see the kind of strong entrepreneurial, digitally driven innovation that in the UK we are helping to generate. So the market opportunity for small and medium enterprises represented by the revolution in digital government that we're going to see in the next Parliament is really significant. The government is the country's biggest spender. The market for digital services will continue to grow. Another question for you, how many people here have heard of G-Cloud? Okay, again, it's about 15–20%. So that is a framework for small businesses particularly to offer their services to government. And so far we've seen 336 million spent through G-Cloud last year. That will grow. The spend on modern digital services in the future will be measured in the billions. The ongoing digital revolution as such therefore provides an opportunity for small and medium enterprises to help shape the digital services market, both locally in Birmingham and the West Midlands and nationally, so that it reflects our skills, our digital expertise, and also our public service values. So 5 years ago, I entered politics for the same reason I went into engineering about a quarter of a century earlier. I wanted to make a world, to help build a world that worked for everyone, not just a lucky few. The digital revolution through the private sector is delivering new services and applications, and small and medium enterprises can make a real contribution to that. But the government is also an opportunity for small and medium enterprises to deliver new and exciting services and change your local environment and the local society for the better. So it provides a market opportunity which is both critically important economically, but also important socially. And I'd like to ask you how we can make sure that you are part of that, and how we can work together to ensure that small and medium enterprises in Birmingham, in the West Midlands, are part of the digital economy of the future for both private and public sectors. Thank you very much.